I'm Drea.
I'm Meg.
I'm Tina.
And I'm Jess.
And this is Pardon My Stash. Welcome to Pardon My Stash, a podcast about knitting, the fiber arts as a whole, and how awesome it is.
Yay.
Before we get into today's topic, let's talk about what we're working on this week. Jess, what are you working on?
So, I'm working on my Pardon My Stash, Make Along, Tea Cozy Thingamajigger, which is from Yarn Inspirations, and it's just the knit flower basket Tea Cozy. And I've kind of gone off the rails with it a little bit because I am totally not doing it in the yarn or the gauge or anything like that. I basically took the pattern and I am going. But it's for a tinier teapot and it needed a tinier stitch.
Wing it like everything in your life.
I'm winging it. And it's pretty cute. So I have one half done. I'm almost done with the basket part of the other half.
Which is pretty fast considering you only work on it.
I only work on it when we're recording.
So,
and then I have my other projects for all the time. So it's working out. But yeah, so it's coming along. I'm like, almost halfway done with it. And I'm looking forward to getting to the knit flowers because those are going to be super cute. From Critical Hit Dyes, and I'm pretty sure this one is a Barrett, and I have red tail going on, and I don't know what the flowers are going to be in. It's whatever I grab out of the bag.
Excellent. Tina.
I am plugging away at my Ingle sweater.
Yay.
It is going along. I haven't knit too much, actually, since we last chatted, but which actually was fairly recently, but because we had an odd week last week. Thanks, air quality. But yeah, I'm just kind of... I've been stuck in the half-inch mark of the body. Feel like for too long. I'll get there. I swear I will.
You will.
That's how it be sometimes.
Yeah, and I have the pattern picked out for the make along, so I think at some point I might switch over to that. The brioche hat I was making, I think, is turning into a cowl. I don't know what happened, but like it got too big. I was like, what the heck? I'm looking at it, I'm like, this is a really floppy hat. And then I was
Too
like,
You know what? It can
it's
be
too big
saved.
even for
It
your
can be
head?
saved.
oh,
Wow.
Yes.
She's got a big head.
Wait, I didn't take that as an insult.
No, I know.
Drea's head to my head in circumference is quite the difference.
Also, I have a very tiny head. So.
You do.
Yeah.
I do.
So for example, I made a hat on my Addie King, and I bounded off. I'm like, this is way too tight. Who makes hats like this? And I gave it to Drea, and it like fits perfect. It was like room. Yeah. There was like room for her to put a hand.
Yeah.
And me, it was like, and I'm like, this is okay.
It's a good hat.
It's, yeah. At least I know it will fit someone. It won't fit me. But I am using String NYC Dolcetto DK in gray, dark gray, and red.
Nice.
Excellent. Drea?
Camisole by Isabel Kramer. Faded jeans.
Jeans. I thought you were just going to say jeans.
Jeans. Silver Moon Fiber Arts.
That
maybe.
sounds right.
Yeah, that sounds right.
right. Feels right.
In jeans.
In faded jeans. Beautiful.
Meg?
I just split for the sleeves today on my Calliope sweater.
That is so good.
Look at the halo on that.
Thank
Like,
you.
it is so
It
good.
is so
I
pretty.
love it.
First of all, that came up very fast.
Yeah.
Listen, I've never knit a sweater out of DK before. This is like lightning compared to knitting a fingering weight sweater.
So, like, I'm looking at mine is supposed to be DK. I'm looking at yours and I'm looking at mine, and like mine looks like fingering compared to yours.
Well, it's a DK held with the mohair,
that's
which
true.
makes it
yeah,
a little
so
bit.
it's a little bit
A
bigger
little
than a
bit.
DK.
Yeah, no, I'm like, yeah, that's okay.
Because, yeah.
No, this looks like the same thick as your solid yarn. I'm just, okay, never mind.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there like, wow, I'm small.
No, it knits up really, really, really fast. I've also been like pretty project monogamous for the last 3 weeks.
You?
So I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Oh.
It's been, so I did pick out what I'm going to knit for the make along. So I'm probably going to start that pretty soon, but on a whole, I haven't picked up anything else but this, in a few weeks. So I've just been knitting round and round. This is what I needed right now. I just needed something that was tactile and easy. That was kind of where my brain was at. So that's why it's been going so fast. But anyway, it's Calliope by Melissa Clulo. It's all over the internet lately. Yarn Harlot made one a few weeks ago. So a lot of people are knitting them, I've been noticing.
Perfect timing.
Yeah. And I'm knitting it out of Critical Hit dyes, Wizard and Mystic held together, and both of them are in the colorway Etherealness. Be sure to check out our website, pardonmystash.com, for more information, as well as pictures regarding our current projects, patterns, and yarns. So for our topic tonight, we're going to get a little bit serious, something we never do on this
Super serious.
on this podcast. What's the word I'm
feeling
thinking
super
of?
serious today. So lay it on
Super
me.
serious. We're going to talk a little bit about the state of the
Union.
crafting world in general.
We're not doing the State of the
We're not doing the State of the Union.
serious, Drea.
That was very serious.
I mean, that State of the Union would be pretty serious, but
is pretty
I am
serious.
not the president, nor do I want to be.
Fair.
I don't think anyone at this table wants to be.
Agreed. Let's move on.
So, the least enviable job in the world. So, state of the crafting world on a whole. I'll talk about kind of where things are at, because there's been a lot of talk lately on social media about what's going on with designers, indie dyers, small businesses in the fiber arts altogether. And, we had the unfortunate incident with the closure of Stitches about a month ago, and how that impacted a lot of teachers, indie dyers, craftspeople in general. We want to talk a little bit today about, what we have seen, what's been going on, kind of noticing not puzzling, but more disturbing trend. And maybe what we as fellow fiber artists can do to try and help.
Well, what's happening?
At least from my perspective, I have seen a lot of people just kind of calling it quits. Not with the fiber arts, but with the consumeristic side of the fiber arts. There's a lot of knitters that are pattern designers that are retiring, quote unquote, from doing any further designing. There's indie dye shops that are just done. Like, they're just, okay, that's it. Like, they might be doing a fiber arts venture, but it's no longer in the indie dye space, nor are they going to be selling to the general public. And then there's just this kind of collective exhaustion with the idea of peddling, as I like to put it, your wares. Because, what happened, guys? Once upon a time, in a land far away, fiber arts, and kind of honestly a skill that you could do with your hand. I'm talking about the trades. I'm talking about crafts in general, any kind of crafts. There was this time where people would look at craftsmen or women and go, wow, what a skill. I will pay many, many dollars for that skill, because that is a very tough thing to do. And I appreciate the work and time that has gone into that.
Yeah, but I can just go to a big box store and I can buy the same thing for, $15.
Correct.
So why am I going to pay you?
Correct. And that's honestly the problem, is that you have this kind of reduction of the quality of craftsmanship in general, because it's all getting
Fast
pumped
fashion.
out.
Yeah.
And I think and as we all know, as fiber artists, there is this misconception of that, especially crochet, that is just, oh yeah, just throw it on a machine. Sir or madame, that is not from a machine.
Yeah.
What you are buying, if you're buying something crochet from some big box store, is usually from someone getting severely underpaid for their work, for pennies on the hour for their time. And it's just furthering this kind of distinction of poverty within the folks that have those kind of skills, because it's just not valued. And it's interesting because it's causing disruptions with a lot of different things. One is that if you are selling your wares, you have the people that are just tired of it. Like, no, I'm not going to reduce my prices, and it's not worth it anymore because you're not going to buy it for the price that it's worth. So,
that you see an issue in stores selling them, just by themselves, is the fact that it has created this idea that it takes an actual artist that doesn't own a factory and a big machine that does it, that it takes them the same amount of time for the same amount of cost.
Correct.
And there's this disconnect now between the consumer and the seller of these things, thinking that it's all made the same exact way. And that, I think, is the issue, is that I feel like it's not everywhere. Obviously, you still have people that know and understand what goes into a craft, but you get a lot of people that kind of like that disappears, and there's just the magic of the store where they don't even think about how the production actually happens or how it's actually made, which, I mean, even if you're looking at the factory things, it's kind of interesting and like super like, so check that out. But they don't think about that. It's just, nope, I walk into the store, I pick it up, and you know what? If I complain about the price, they'll try and barter with me down. And that's not necessarily the case anymore. And some of that too, you're seeing that is rounding about. You're seeing a lot of platforms that people are using to sell are starting to side more with the consumer than the seller, which in some cases, yes, that can be good, but it's to a point now where there are consumers that abuse it, and like Etsy is having a big blowout right now because someone can just say, hey, I didn't get this, and instead of actually looking into it, they're like, oh, okay, we'll refund you. And now the person has the product, the cash, and the seller is now out all of that. And I'm seeing a lot of sellers saying they're leaving Etsy because of this, because they're losing money. They're literally going bankrupt because chargebacks. And
the best part of Etsy that is killing me right now is that there's tip videos on how you can let someone know that they're buying a $5 pattern, not a $5 sweater.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, there's people that legitimately buy something for $5 for or $10 even, and it's a pattern.
And they think it's
they think they're getting
product.
shipped a sweater
product, yep,
or a hat or a whatever. And I'm sitting there going like, are you crazy? Like, in what capacity, unless you're going to some kind of secondhand store or like that, you would find anything knitted or crocheted for nothing. Like, when I see prices like that, it's usually because I've gone to a Goodwill, somebody dropped all grandma's blankets at Goodwill and they're for $5 each, and that's when I see those prices. Then not on Etsy. There's nobody's sending you a luxury beanie made of merino and silk and cashmere for $5. I'm sorry. I hate to break it to you. But what's happening is that they give them bad reviews. And then there's people who even buy the pattern and they say they can't figure out how to download the pattern, so then they leave a bad review because they can't figure out how to use the app. And I'm like, that's not the seller's fault, that's Etsy's fault for having a bad app. Like, I can't even
realize that things like that were happening.
Yes.
If I were honest.
Yes.
They do.
And even
You're telling me this right now,
Yeah.
like people are buying patterns and expecting a finished product.
Yes.
And it's like literally killing me on the inside.
right.
There's also very little oversight from a lot of sites like Etsy that, and this happened, I remember, a few years ago with Blue Brick, the Blue Brick yarn company, and Wingspan. Do you remember when the Wingspan pattern went viral and everyone was buying Ibis? I don't think it was Blue Brick that was as impacted as the artist who designed Wingspan. Other people, scammers, were taking that, creating their own pages with the picture of Wingspan and selling the kits. And there's no oversight. Like, nobody could stop them.
Yeah.
So people were getting scammed out of that. And scamming, I think, is another huge part of why people are getting out of it, both sellers and, honestly, like, consumers, because we've all heard the stories of small businesses that don't deliver, that accept money, and then they don't deliver a product.
Yeah.
And especially in the fiber arts, if you're buying, a indie dyed yarn or an Advent or, something that is considered a luxury item, normally you have put some money away. You have planned for that. And it's not like it's a couple of bucks that, that's inconvenient, but no big deal. A lot of buyers have gotten turned off of small businesses because, unlike a big box store, it's harder to be made whole when you've been taken advantage of. So it kind of goes both ways. It really does. It's on the sellers. It's also on the buyers, on both ways.
And it sucks because this minority, because really it is, at the end of the day, for the most part, if you sell an item,
Right. It's a minority.
it gets to the person person says thanks and moves on. But then you have the minority, that even if it's 10%, it's still a huge amount to a small business of people who are trying to scam them out of a pattern, scam them out of a product, or from the buyer's perspective, buying an item and just never receiving it.
Right.
And the seller just getting off
And again,
scot-free.
there's so few of them that do that, but it doesn't matter.
But
when
it
happens,
tarnishes.
it's huge.
Yeah, it
Yes.
tarnishes everybody.
And it goes
Because
crazy and everyone hears about it.
Because at the end of the day, everyone gets lumped as a small business owner, right?
And people talk.
And then it's like, oh, well, this indie dyer scammed me, so then all of them. Or this designer scammed me, so then all of them.
Or I bought an Advent and I didn't receive it, so I'm never going to buy Advents again.
Correct. Yeah. And then it's like that product in particular just gets ruined. I understand, like, things happen, but I think at the end of the day, if everybody would just, I know this is a hard concept, people, but we're going to try right now. If everybody would just let go of their egos and be honest with everybody, you would be amazed at the problems that we could solve in this world. What? I really, truly feel, I know. The concept of honesty, I think, has been lost. Because I think at the end of the day, you have all these social media accounts and they show everybody with no problems and nobody F's up and everybody's perfect. And I do feel that the younger generation is killing this because they're just like, no, everybody's got problems. Yeah. This is not realistic. I want to say that our generation, the elder millennial kind of generation, probably started that because that started in when we were younger, this whole like influencer, like, look at my perfect life.
Well, I also think that came from our parents who were very
putting
big
that pressure,
putting on airs and making sure you present the perfect picture, even if that isn't the case behind the scenes.
And it's
we just put it on social media and made videos.
Correct. Yeah. And I think as time goes on, you're seeing millennials start to like break out of that and go, the Gen Z got something going on. And they just like, no, we're not going to do this anymore. And we're going to eliminate this illusion of fast, quick production, productive, this kind of idea that like your life is meant to do something or give something, or no, maybe your life is just literally to exist, and like that's okay. But
look, my life is a mess and I'm just getting through it. I need breaks.
Yeah.
I like to do crafts, and that's me in a nutshell.
Yeah, and doing this whole like it's killing me because back to the whole idea of honesty. It honestly being frank and open and honest. So like say, I don't know, I have a design, I'm having it tested. It turns into be a crapshoot. If I just go to everybody and go, hey, you know what? I did this design. We're testing it. It sucks. I'm going to go back to the drawing board. So any deadlines I told you, we're going to nix all that. And I'm just going to go back and like rework this and get this going. I feel like as a tester on the other side, I'm just speaking from a tester, I would be like, wow, awesome. Like they're listening to all of the problems. They're going to go try to resolve them. They're going to come back and try to do it again. Instead of, oh, like everything's fine. We'll just delay this a little bit, but it's okay. Everything's fine. And I'm like, no, it's not fine. It's okay. It can be not fine. Like it's okay. It's fine. Same thing with indie dyers. Doing like you want to do a batch of a certain color. You try the batch up. It's just screwed. And you're like, crap, I have
We call that wild magic.
Yeah, thank you.
that's what I mean. I love wild magic for that.
Wild magic is like we tried to do something.
Yeah.
It didn't come out, and we go, it still looks good. It's still a
pretty.
yarn. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just not what we wanted.
Yeah.
Wild magic. Here, it's
doing it-
cheaper now.
But like the fact that you embrace that instead of like, okay, we're gonna like pretend this didn't exist. Like,
no.
no,
Listen.
there's nothing wrong with that yarn. Go put
There's
that
a whole
up.
page on our website of mistakes. Happy accidents.
Happy accidents.
Some of your happy accidents are beautiful, though.
Okay, what was it? Tequila Sunrise.
Oh my God.
That was hilarious because that was such a mistake. And I put those up. I'm like, I was super upset about it. I was really upset because I called Jess. I'm like, I had this whole batch and it's all wrong. And I'm like, you know what? Whatever. It's going up there. Call it Tequila Sunrise. I'm good. And it sold out in an hour. And I was like, oh.
It was gorgeous.
Yeah.
It was gorgeous.
I can't recreate it. I don't know how to recreate
It's fine.
That's the one sad thing about those types of happy accidents.
I don't know how I screwed it up.
But
Making them
like,
again.
But it was what it was. You're right. Like, and it's, and but to kind of go off what Drea said about that whole, like the pressure from older generations, like that is probably as a fiber artist been one of my biggest challenges. And Jess knows because she watches me go through the 5 stages of grief every time I screw up dying. Oh, I really do. Like, it's terrible. I'm like, and the wild magic kind of saves us because originally I was like, oh my God, I'm destroying our stock because I'm an idiot and I can't recreate this dye color. And oh my God, like I'm costing us money, like the whole thing. And so kind of like now at the point where it gets screwed up and she'll come home and she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, I don't know. It was this. It's not anymore. Ta-da. And I don't care anymore. But it has taken me a long time, again, going off what Drea said, to kind of break out of that. This is a mistake. This is a screw up. I did this wrong. Ergo, I'm bad. Like that mentality. And it was really ingrained that if it's not exactly what I wanted it to be, then it's a failure.
yeah.
And it's been really hard to break out of that. It really has.
And I think too, there might be part of that with all these closures, because I feel like I actually put that on a story the other, if not yesterday, like today, it was yesterday. And it was about like how, guys, I have all these followers. I don't make any money. Like, I don't live off of this. Like, there was people that legitimately thought like once you hit like a certain mark, like just Instagram just sends you money.
Insta-famous.
They just send you money.
Nobody
Like,
sends you money.
here nobody sends you money.
Ever.
There's no money.
Even when Instagram was doing money.
I know, it was bull crap.
They kind of stopped doing that pretty quickly.
Yeah, they were like, wait a second, this isn't working. We're losing. We instead of having 70 billion in profit, now we have 69 billion in profit. That's not okay. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, I don't like, I think there's a mentality of like, if I create a product and it doesn't sell out and it's not the number one product, I failed. And that's not the case.
No.
I'm okay. I'm okay with my seed dot beanie. I think I have like 100 something people or sales or whatever for the seed dot beanie. I'm good. Is it a sellout? Is it like, am I like going to be a huge name at the next fabric? No, absolutely not.
But you have maybe 100 people that are wearing your head. That's
I'm
pretty cool.
like
Right.
first of all, the fact that even one person buys my pattern, I'm just like, oh my God, like what did I do? Was it the pattern cover? Like what did I?
I actually can't wait for fall. That's like my favorite hat.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a good time. But
I'm not even saying that to bump you. Just like
no,
it's my favorite hat.
it's gonna be a good time. But instead of feeling like I need to create something so that I meet some kind of capitalistic goal, now I'm like, okay, I'm going to create something so that it makes me happy because I would make this. I would want to do this. So here's this idea. If you like it, buy it. If you don't, that's okay too. Like I'm still going to use it. And it's hard because I know that there's fiber artists out there that use this as like, this is how they make a living.
Yeah.
And you can't almost take that mentality with it because it is your form of living. And if it is, I'm sorry.
You gotta try and find
hard.
a happy medium though, because
Yeah.
some with that too, it's like, and not everything is gonna take off. So it's like, okay, that doesn't mean you're a failure. It
Correct.
doesn't mean that it's a bad idea. It just means, okay, that's not the market right now. The market is always changing. Everything is always like flipping around. You got to stay on top of all of it. I work in sales it's like food sales, but still. So the idea, that's where I'm saying, it's like, you got to kind of figure out where your market is, who is buying. You may be originally targeting towards an audience and then a different audience like enjoys it. So it's like, it's not a failure unless you do nothing with it. So long as you can take a loss and be like, okay, what were the factors that went into this? What can I do to kind of switch it around?
What
Are
have I
there
learned?
things, what have I learned
What have I
from
gained?
it?
That's maybe not money, but what have I gained?
Yeah, and if you can take that and then go in from a different angle, like, you're never really losing. It is the cool thing, and it is also the unfortunate thing, because a lot of times you are gambling with your own money and your
Time.
And that part can get scary, especially if you get to a point where it's like, you're starting to get more on the thin side of things, and it's like, okay, so, and I feel like that is what we are, especially right now with just kind of the state of that things are in. People are finding they are getting on the thinner side, and they have to make that hard decision of, do I keep trying right now, or do I have to like make the hard choice to stop until things can pick up, things are a bit easier to push back into a business.
Well, the other problem too is that, like, with every market, with every business, there are highs and lows.
Absolutely.
And 10 years ago, the indie dyer markets were so small.
Yes.
Yep.
And then you saw, with Ravelry and social media and blogs in general, and that exploded. And at this point,
picked up.
right where we are at right now, even though it seems like, oh, my favorite indie dyers are closing, the market is oversaturated.
Yeah.
It is. It's oversaturated. That lends itself to, a scarcity in the market of people having to choose between, nobody can afford to buy from every indie dyer that they like every week.
Right.
Yeah.
So you have to pick and choose. Now, when that happens, this is basic economics, businesses start to close. And eventually you get to the point where the market is no longer oversaturated, when there is more demand than supply. So then more people enter the market, and it's cyclical. It's just going to keep going. So right now we're still at an oversaturated point. It's not that we want the market to be undersaturated or oversaturated. We want it to be whatever it is. But it does make it hard for people that are trying to make a living within it, really on both ends. It's difficult.
Especially when you've got platforms and things kind of working against you, and you gotta, it's hard, and it is kind of sad when you start seeing, especially when you see like all the ones you really like, and it's like, oh, we're starting to close, and you're like, oh no. But I think you do see that, though. It does, especially with smaller businesses and the smaller indie owned. You see a lot of like turnover almost.
I honestly, so I used to be in the Japanese fashion scene, and one of the things that they did towards the end, right before I left, they did like a collective. So like someone came up with the idea of, instead of all of us trying to all be like whatever, like we could still be our brand, but like we're all gonna pool together. And instead of going to like an Etsy or something like that, we're all going to, they called it literally I think it was like the Lolita Collective. And they had like all these different brands, small little brands underneath one website.
Oh. So working together
instead of trying to market against each other. And what that gave the opportunity for is when we had, so we used to run our conference, they were the vendor, the collective. Mm-hmm. And then if you wanted to have items at our show, but you couldn't afford necessarily a booth by yourself, you could just be in the collective and they would include you on the rack. So then it gave opportunity for everybody to have success.
It's like a flea market.
Kind of. Yeah, it was almost, yeah. And I just like, I don't know if I just said $1 billion idea and someone's going, oh my God, I'm going to make that right now. Anyway, but like.
And I hope so.
Yeah, no, but it would be nice. Like, I think the idea of like kind of a collective idea in the fiber arts world, that's not like, so for me, when I see the Etsy's and the Ravelries and all these, there's like there's another app, and they're like, their business is to make money off of the people in it.
Yes.
It's not necessarily to come together and form a group to try to like work together. It's to like, the person who ran that collective in the fashion world had their own brand in it.
Yeah.
So they were just running the group, but they weren't necessarily like, okay, like I'm going to make money off of all you and you will do all the work. That's what Etsy does. Etsy wants all the crafters to make all their crafts, and then they take a fee, and then they make millions while the crafters still get haggled. So I think what we need is to go back to the group help mentality. And I know that there's like this, I know that when you start going that way, people are like, oh no, it's going to be like a hippies in a big,
It's going to be a hippie commune.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying go all the way that way. I'm just saying.
Can we grow tomatoes at the commune?
Yeah.
Great.
I love
in.
tomatoes,
I'm
and
in.
they're
Let's do
easy
it.
plant. Like they're so hard. Anyways, we're not doing that right now. But
It's okay. I have my own tomatoes. I just planted some last week.
You've got one on the porch.
the idea is like, I think if maybe some of these crafters or dyers or just anybody within this fiber arts industry just like said, hey, I have a bunch of friends. We all have this thing, and we're going to call it the Fiber Collective or something like, I don't know, that's probably somebody already has that, but whatever, but something like that. And then like under that there would be a whole bunch of indie designers and dyers and stuff, and they would just work together as a small group. It wouldn't be like this, okay, like there's thousands to pick from, and it's like, no, it's maybe they all have a joint venture where like all of them are women, or all of them are LGBTQA, or all of them are, I don't know, like you just all have something in common, and then they go that way. I don't know, throwing ideas out there. Somebody do it.
Like merchant guilds. Be the change. Go.
Yeah. What?
I said, be the change. Go.
Yeah.
No, but honestly, kind of to go along with that, I was looking in on a conversation the other day, and people were talking about two designers. One who was actually, they're both pretty well known. I'm not going to name names, and someone was irate that one of them had used a similar prefix on a design name as the other designer, which again, I was like, okay, that's petty, but whatever.
That is kind of
and
that's why Ravelry has like the cowl 2, the cowl
oh, I know,
3,
like
the
literally,
cowl
if you like, just for reference, when I was looking for a tea related, because I didn't want to do a tea cozy, when I was looking for that, I just put in tea, and there were like 7,000 patterns that had to do with tea.
Yeah.
But the reason, like pettiness aside, the thing that really hit me and actually really made me sad was the person who was irate about it said, well, I think that's just a really low thing for a competitor to do. And I was like, a competitor? The thought that designers, dyers, craftspeople, that we are competing against each other, it really bothers me and saddens me. Like we don't have to, it doesn't have to be a competition. It's not like we're fighting. I dye yarn. I still buy other people's yarn. I don't look at them as, oh, that's my competitor.
Yeah.
I don't.
Like when you decided to make a pattern,
Yeah.
I didn't go, well, Meg, mind your own business.
Right.
Instead, I was like, hooray, come join me in this hole of patterns and math.
Because the more we put in together, the more options we have, the more people that are involved, and the more art that gets created, the more options that we have in terms of yarn, in terms of colors, in terms of designs, the wider and bigger and more diverse our craft becomes. And that's a good thing, not a bad thing. We shouldn't look at each other as competitors.
The fiber arts is very much like there's something for everybody.
There really is. And looking at it as we're all in competition with each other is sad.
The everyone like wants to focus on the fiber and forget about the art. At the end of the day, we're all artists. And you cannot, one artist can copy another like line for line. But even if unless they were tracing, even if they copy line for line, it is still their own, like it's completely, you can tell like this is somebody else's and this is the original.
Yeah.
And because of that, I'm not saying copy each other. What I'm saying is, because of those unique perspectives of how you view the world. I mean, we have people who are colorblind. We have people who literally just see things differently because our brains are a little messy, me included. But like because of that, you have so many different perspectives, so many different viewpoints, so many different layers of experience that people have been in that I could not go up to somebody and say, well, you understand. You've clearly been in my shoes, because they probably haven't.
And you haven't been in theirs.
And I haven't been in theirs.
Right.
So if someone were to come up to me and this stranger and say, I would like you to draw a picture of your happy place, guess what? It's going to be two different things. Even if it was the beach, they're not going to look like the same beach.
No.
They won't, because your visions are completely different. So I get the whole like I'm trying to make money or whatever. But I honestly feel at the end of the day, if everybody would just go back to the fact that this is art and work together rather than against, you have to understand that, guys, we are working, all these indie folks, the reason why we're indie is because we're all tiny. We're all working against the consumerist society that is. We're working against all the big box people, all the people who just put out like just nonsense that you can just walk into a store and buy. And we're also working against that fast fashion industry that is, chunky, like just throwing things out, creating horrible, like I just go into that anyway, but instead of like looking at the other fiber artists next to you that may be also designing hats, plenty of people design hats, but there are like, your hat will be different. I remember when I made my seed dot beanie, I was like, nobody's gonna want this hat. I'm like, in my head, I'm like, it's just the seed stitch and the dot stitch. Nobody wants this hat. Nobody wants this hat. It's just
Some people want that hat.
Yeah, 100+ people wanted my hat. So it's like if I could speak to 100 people and with my little simple hat, then maybe your hat that you have out there in the universe, whoever's listening, maybe your hat idea will speak to 10 people, one person. It doesn't matter. Like, you are speaking to somebody else because everybody has different viewpoints.
Guys, at the end of the day, knitting is all one stitch that can be reversed, that can be put together in different ways. Dyeing, there's only so many colors that actually exist that you, the artist, are mixing in different ways.
Need a freaking mic drop sound.
It's crochet, same thing. Like one stitch. Spinning, there's only really one way to spin yarn.
Wrong. There are a couple different ways.
You're twisting fibers, though.
You are fusing fibers, correct?
So
but there are different ways.
No, there's different ways, but you're fusing fiber. That is
right.
what spinning is. You're
right.
fusing fiber. That's how you make yarn. There isn't like a non-fusing fiber way to make yarn. So everything is fusing fiber.
Okay, Meg, enlighten us.
There isn't. I don't know.
No, I'm just saying it's. So if we're stopping at like, okay, you're copying me, then everybody just stopped because, way back, like right when Homo sapiens first discovered how to make cloth, and we're at the end. We're done. They figured out how to do it. Just stop, guys, because now you're copying that person.
I mean, to be fair, someone made a stocknet sweater probably like 100 years ago. Let's stop. Probably longer. Probably way back. So, like, can we just
Probably way more than 100 years.
I'm just,
yes.
I know. I'm just saying.
They have had sweaters,
So it's like,
prior to the 1900s.
See how
I am aware.
silly that sounds?
I just threw out 100. I know that 100 is.
It was a big number.
Okay, all right.
Sorry.
Back when the Homo sapiens walked the
So I started this episode by saying we were going to be serious, and I clearly lied.
Let me go back. Okay, fine. Jess has got it. The Homo sapien. Okay, I will go back to Homo sapiens.
Can we stop being Homo sapiens, please?
We're at least a little homo
when they
here.
created fire and the Shetland sweater.
That was it. They created fire and then the Shetland sweater. Everybody's conception of history is making my brain explode right now. And ancient is not
They
even my
made the
forte.
fire. When the fire would go out, they need to.
Well, you got a lot for the blooper reel.
Oh no, this should stay in. This was great.
I am just saying.
This thread was everything.
The idea of people copying things in that regard, like, yes, if you just copy paste somebody's pattern, like, bad on you.
Right, back off.
That is not nice. But I mean, again, it's all just different putting together of patterns that exist, guys. Like, we need to calm down.
And that's it for this week's topics. For additional content and opportunities to connect with the cast, check out our website at pardonmystash.com. Be sure to tune in next week for more fun, friends, and fiber at Pardon My Stash.